Hello and welcome back to the Unite Pieces movie recap. Today we will be recapping an action, thriller movie from 2001, starring Jet Li and Jason Statham, titled The One. The movie focuses on a policeman who fights with his true self in a parallel universe. He believes that if he can defeat himself, he will become immortal. So, sit back, prepare some snacks, and let's get into the video. The movie begins with a scene of a fully clothed police force about to pick up a prisoner named Lawless, played by Jet Li. As a dangerous inmate, Lawless himself will be transferred to the state prison, and a mysterious person is seen watching from the ducting. While going to the car, suddenly Lawless is shot by the mysterious figure, then the person emerges from the exhaust ducting, and he is Ulaw. The police who saw him were astonished, but without much ado Ulaw immediately beat them all. Then he left the location while running using his super speed. Behind, the police chased him using a car. Besides the police, Ulaw was also being chased by two agents between universes, namely Funch and Rodecker. When they were close, they then got off and split up. Funch, who saw Ulaw waiting for the time and space portal to open, immediately asked Ulaw to surrender, but Ulaw refused, so Rodecker came by crashing his car into Ulaw. Then Rodecker held him and took him back to his realm. Upon arrival, Ulaw was immediately directed to prison to serve his sentence. The judge indicted Ulaw for the various murders of his twins throughout the universe, and Lawless was the 123rd twin, and the judge planned to give him the death penalty for all his crimes. The day that Ulaw was to be executed finally arrived. A sexy woman came there and witnessed the execution. When he was about to be executed, Ulaw was allowed to say his last words. Ulaw then revealed that he only intended to tidy up the universe. He wanted that there was only one of him in the entire universe, so that his energy could be multiplied and make him faster, stronger, and more intelligent. At the same time, the female visitor takes a mouse out of her shoe, and the mouse is pointed in the direction of Ulaw's execution site, and suddenly, Ulaw manages to escape and paralyze the officers, after which he activates the portal machine and goes straight to the next universe, which is also his final destination. Shortly after Funch and Rodecker arrive, Rodecker seems to know which universe Ulaw will go to. The scene switches and we are shown another dangerous prisoner pickup scene, but in this universe Law is the leader of the police, and is named Gabe Law. When he is about to put the prisoner in the car, suddenly his troops get a mysterious attack, which also comes from the exhaust ducting. And how surprised Gab is to see that the attacker looks a lot like him. After a brief fight, Ulaw chooses to run away, and Gab chases him behind. When Ulaw uses his superpowers to jump over the wall, Gab with his human abilities can also jump over it even though he has to try. However, when he makes it over the wall, Ulaw shoots him, and when Ulaw is about to kill Gab, suddenly two inter-universe agents come and shoot him. As a result, Ulaw escapes. At Gab's house, his wife, TK, felt anxious and rushed to the hospital, but she cancelled when she saw that Gab was back home. Gab then calmed his wife down and took her to the hospital to see his injured colleague. Long story short, they arrived at the hospital. Gab's colleague asked him what the characteristics of the person who carried out the attack were like. Gab claimed he didn't know because it was dark. After his colleague walked away, his wife found out that Gab was lying. As a result, Gab told his wife the truth, that the perpetrator of the attack was his other self, aka his twin. Hearing that, TK thought her husband was hallucinating due to the trauma of his injury, and after that TK drove Gab to the MRI room to find out about his injury. While heading there, Gab saw Ulaw's presence through the mirror, which made him uneasy. Upon arrival at the MRI room, the doctor banned the use of metal in the room, so Gab had to remove her wedding ring. However, because Gab was afraid of Ulaw's presence, he asked the doctor to allow him to carry a gun, but the doctor refused, and TK also convinced him to calm down. Long story short, Gab entered the MRI machine. While the process was underway, suddenly Ulaw entered and threatened the doctor, and soon the two agents also entered to stop him, so there was a shootout. Realizing there was a commotion, Gab immediately left the machine, while Ulaw finally entered the MRI room and looked for him. When Ulaw was about to shoot Gab, suddenly his gun was sucked into the MRI machine, and when Ulaw was about to pick up his gun, the two agents came and intended to arrest him. However, the arrival of the police there caught them off guard, so Ulaw managed to escape. On the other hand, TK and his police colleagues saw the incident on CCTV, where they saw Gab shoot the police and run away. However, what they actually saw was Ulaw. On the other hand, Gab changed his clothes and went after Ulaw, but in the process he was intercepted by his friends. They assumed that Gab was having a breakdown. Although Gab tried to explain the situation, but since they started to act, he was forced to fight them, but without hurting them. After that, Gab tries to convince his wife that the culprit is his other self and not him. Finally she believes him this time. We cut to the two agents between universes. They decide to split up. Rodecker goes after Ulaw while Funch goes after Gab, who is also starting to get strong because the law in the entire universe is just the two of them, so the life energy of the law is now only divided between two people. Meanwhile, in the autopsy room, the officers are surprised by Ulaw's appearance from the body bag, and he ends up escaping using the hearse. While on the way, Rodecker suddenly appears pointing his gun to catch Ulaw, then Ulaw crashes his car in return. Next, they fight fiercely, but Ulaw, who is too strong, can easily kill Rodecker. Turning to Gab, who secretly tried to escape using an ambulance car, Funch, who saw it, immediately chased him, and arrived somewhere. Gab, who realized he was being followed, lured him into an area, and immediately subdued him. Then Funch told him what really happened. Funch said that Ulaw had killed his twin from another universe, and Gab was the last twin that Ulaw had to kill, in order to increase his strength and become a ruler. But Gab didn't believe him and immediately left him. Elsewhere, Ulaw activated Rodecker's device, and soon Funch's watch lit up in red, indicating that Rodecker was dead. After knowing that, he immediately approached Gab, and stated that he was on his side to fight Ulaw. The next morning, TK was escorted by Sheriff to her house. They also intended to detain Gab at her house. She also entered the house with extra tight security. When she entered the room, TK asked Sheriff to stand guard outside for a while because she wanted to change her clothes. However, actually TK just wanted to check if Gab was hiding above the ceiling, and it was true. Gab, who was hiding, then asked TK to get him a gun in the drawer. Without suspicion, TK immediately took it. However, when she was about to hand it over, TK saw another Gab outside the window. Feeling suspicious, TK tested the Gab of the house with a question. However, because the answer was wrong, TK pointed her gun at Ulaw while calling the sheriff. But unfortunately Ulaw grabbed it and shot the sheriff, then continued to shoot TK in front of Gab's eyes. When the sheriff's men came, Ulaw immediately ran away. Gab also ran away from the police. While running, Funch came and gave him a ride. Gab then asked how to kill Ulaw. Funch said that in an hour the time and space portal would open for 3 minutes, and during those 3 minutes, they had to hold Ulaw, so that he could be brought back for punishment. Then they went to a factory where the portal would open. At the same time they saw Ulaw running. They both immediately chased him, but suddenly Funch's watch gave a signal that there was an active bomb around them. Funch and Gab split up to seek shelter, and it wasn't long before the bomb exploded. After the explosion, Gab disappeared, leaving Funch to search for Ulaw alone, until suddenly Ulaw kicked down his gun, and Funch was brutally beaten. Luckily Gab arrived in time, and the two twins finally dueled. Gab initially lost because Ulaw was much stronger, but after he saw the mark of the wedding ring on his finger, he was motivated and got up to fight Ulaw with his full strength. The fight ended when Gab managed to hold Ulaw, but because their fight was so brutal it ended up causing a fire in the place. So there was an explosion and they bounced to near Funch, who was lying down. Then soon the portal opened and Gab was sucked in. Arriving there, officers immediately arrested the suspected Ulaw and were about to send him to the Shades universe, but fortunately Funch realized the mistake, because what they caught was Gab and not Ulaw. After capturing the real Ulaw, officers immediately sent him to the Shades universe to serve his sentence there. In Shades, Ulaw met other prisoners who were also ambitious to get to the peak, so they had to fight each other to survive. Back to Gab. The chairman wants to return Gab to his universe, but Funch forbids it because he has become a fugitive in his universe, so Funch arranges the right destination for Gab. After the transfer process is complete, Gab falls in the middle of the highway, causing traffic jams. In his confusion, he sees a dog that has been hit, so he immediately pulls over from the road and takes it to the veterinary clinic. What a surprise when he enters the clinic, because he sees young TK who is his recipient. It turns out that Funch sent him back in time to where Gab and TK first met, before finally getting married. And that's how the movie ends. What do you think of this movie? Please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, and support our channel by subscribing, so that we stay motivated to create more interesting content for you to enjoy. And until next time.